you just heard was 1,000 Stars. It was a major hit in 1960. It was a minor hit in 1954 by a group, the Reveliers, in New York City. But this lady had a gold record for it. This is Kathy Young. Kathy Young recorded 1,000 Stars in 1960 and went to the top of the charts. It took her around the world. It took her around the American Bandstand. It took her on the Alan Freed tours. It took her everywhere. And before she takes the stage in a few minutes, she's going to sit and talk with us about her career, who she is, how she got started, and how she became a star, and how she's still singing that song after a lot of years, huh?
A lot of years.
A lot of years. It's been a while. When did you learn that you could sing? How old were you when you realized that you were a singer?
I was 5.
5 years old, or?
So I was 5 years old.
5 years old. And how did that happen?
My family was a very musical family.
Really?
My mom and dad both played guitar. My mom and dad both sang. We got together with other families on Sunday afternoons and sang gospel songs, and we all just sat around and sang. Somebody played piano, somebody played accordion, you know, but everybody sang. And that was how I grew up, was just singing every, you know.
Your mother was a choir director?
My mom was the choir director in our church. But over at this friend's house where we used to all get together on Sunday afternoons, they had a home recording machine. And for some reason, I don't know why, I sang How Much Is That Doggy in the Window when I was 5. And honestly, when I heard the music come out of those speakers, I was absolutely in love. I was mesmerized. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh. And so I taught myself to play guitar. I taught myself to read music. Yeah, I taught myself to read music, and I just played and sang all the time. And again, my mom was the choir director. I sang in the choir.
What did your father do? I know he was an electrician.
Yeah.
But what did he do musically?
He just sang, played guitar. I mean, honestly, my brother played sax, clarinet, banjo.
Oh, wow.
He didn't sing, but he did play every instrument. But I just grew to love music more and more and more. There was always music in our house, always. Classical, Dean Martin, you know, Frank Sinatra, everything. There was just music playing in our house all the time. And so I, like I said, you know, taught myself to play guitar, read music. I would sit in my bedroom and just play for hours and hours.
What did you play, on the radio?
Guitar. No,
oh, you played live
guitar.
music?
Yeah, I played my guitar.
Oh, you played live music.
And I was just singing.
Are you reading music?
Yes, I taught myself to read. Right, and so I would get sheet music, and I would play, and I would just sit there and sing. I just loved to sing. I loved hearing music, and I would just take my guitar wherever I went, and I would just play.
Was there anybody in particular you were listening to? I mean,
Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Peggy Lee, Rosemary Clooney, the
Come On to My House and all that stuff.
Brothers, you know,
oh yeah,
just everybody from the 40s. I loved 40s music. I wasn't really into the rock and roll yet, because I just loved the 40s. I loved those sounds.
You know, as we get older, even myself, I have a greater appreciation for that music now too.
Oh.
And my father wouldn't want us to listen to rock and roll. He wanted us to listen to Frank Sinatra, but we didn't. We left on the road. You were a star in the hallway. The kids.
They were all very nice. I mean, they all knew I wanted to be. I had a girls' club that, you know, supported me completely. I had written to all the record companies. They'd all written back, "Don't call us, we'll call you." And I knew that I could rent a studio and a band and cut a demo for $125 in 1960. But I didn't have $125. So my girls' club that I belonged to, we were having car washes and spaghetti dinners, and they were going to loan me the money because they believed me that I sang, because I sang for them all the time.
Yeah,
you know, I just constantly sang. And then it was kind of one thing led to another.
Wow. See, from our perspective, we're living in the Midwest in Cleveland, Ohio, and this is another world, okay? This music is coming from another side of the planet, and all these kids, Kathy Young's a big star, but Kathy Young is a kid in high school walking amongst her friends, but we didn't understand that. We just thought you were 2 feet off the ground, and you didn't. No, really, that was our perception of this, you know, being young kids in the Midwest.
Oh, I know, because I went from being just like you to being her.
You weren't like me. How could she say? Okay. Yeah, but yes, I mean, all of a sudden you're on national TV, and your voice. These kids are driving down the street, and Mommy, I go to school with her, and that, you know, that kind of thing, and
you know, let them see that it was just a love song. But look where it's gone. You know, I can understand why they were upset, because look at what our music has turned into.
This is not music.
No.
This is not music.
I still say it is. I mean, it's just that the words are bad. But you know, we were doing what we did. Elvis Presley did what he did. You know, everybody, because we had to invent a new type of music, and that's what kids are doing today.
Yeah, I can respect the fact that they want their own music, okay? I understand that part, but they have gone so far that I don't see where it has a melody that I want to sing, it has a beat that I want to move to.
Right, it's, you know, it's different, right.
Hey, speaking of Elvis Presley, you ever meet Elvis?
I didn't, no.
Oh, you, I was going to say I did.
No,
okay.
Never got
Jerry
to.
Lee Lewis, you toured with Jerry Lee Lewis.
No.
Didn't you tour with Jerry Lee? I read it. Oh my God!
No.
See, this is why I got to interview you because you never.
Roy Orbison, I did.
Okay, I want to talk about
and
Roy.
I got to ride a Ferris wheel with him.
Oh God. Okay. And the Beatles. You met the Beatles?
Absolutely.
Oh man. Okay. Now I'm not a big Stones fan, but you met the Stones.
Yep.
And Eric Burdon and the Animals.
Yeah.
Did you learn to read music?
I taught myself to read it.
Nobody taught you?
No, I taught myself.
You just went into your room with the sheet music and your
Sat
guitar?
down in a book of, you know, how to write music and how to read it.
And how old were you?
Oh, you know, I was probably when I really got into it was about 8.
8 years old? Oh, you were sophisticated and mature by then. Okay.
I loved music.
Yeah.
I still love music.
It's been your life.
Yeah, I did. But I'm not like, you know, a lot of people where they really know all of this about it. I just love it. And so, yeah, I started playing and writing, and I knew I was going to be a singer. I just knew it from that 5-year-old.
But did you know you were going to be a star?
I did.
You felt it?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, I'm serious. And like I've said, you know, you can talk about this now. It's already happened.
Yeah.
But I did. I absolutely did. So by the time I was 13, I'd been in a couple of talent shows at school. Only because a girlfriend of mine had put my name in.
I had never. Myrna?
Yes. I had never sung really in front of anybody other than a few friends. So that was my exposure of being on a stage and hearing applause. And I was like, oh, I like this.
And you won.
I did. And then I had to come back the next year.
And you won again.
And I won again.
Now
and
you
so
were
that kind of gave me a lot
captured.
of confidence. You know, okay, I don't just think I'm good. They think I'm good too. So I wrote to all the record companies in Hollywood. They all wrote back, don't call us, we'll call you. So I found out that I could rent a studio and a band and cut a demo for $125.
What a deal.
And I was going to take that demo to a record company and say, listen to me, I'm good.
What were you going to sing? What were you
Listen to Eddie, My Darling, a song I'd written.
You'd written it?
I wrote The Flip Side of 1,000 Stars in a dream when I was 13. Oh, wow. I woke up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh, and I just started writing it down. So my girls' club that I belonged to, just a bunch of girls, we just like to hang out together. They were going to loan me the money because I didn't have $125. I had just paid $125 that I had worked for since I was 10 years old. I had worked 2 jobs, one before school and one after school, to pay $125 for my Gibson guitar that I bought back then that I still have.
You still have it today?
And I always took it
still play it?
on the road with me. Not as much as I would like to, but I do occasionally, just not as much. So the girls, we were having spaghetti dinners and car washes, and like I said, they were going to loan me the money. So Wink Martindale had his rock and roll show at Pacific Ocean Park, and the girls, we were all going to go, and Frankie Avalon was the star that was going to be on that show that day. So I was sitting where I could look down into this open-air green room, and I saw Frankie, and I saw this man walking around talking to everybody, but he wasn't really with an artist. He was just there. Well, after the show, I saw him out in the amusement park, and I went, oh, this man knows Hollywood. He knows people in Hollywood. He knows the music business. I have to talk to him because I live in Long Beach. I'm little Kathy Young from Long Beach. I don't know anybody in Hollywood. So I just went straight up to him and I said, sir, I said, how do you make a record if you don't know anybody in Hollywood? I'm going to be a star. I'm a singer. And all the 30 girls in the club surrounded him. And he's just looking at me, listening, and they're all saying, she's great, she really is. You know, she sings all the time, and she writes songs, and she's really good. And my mom came up and asked him, she said, is she bothering you? And he said, no. Is she serious? And Mom said, oh yeah, she's serious. And he stood there and he looked at me, and I'm just like, please, you know, he pulled out his wallet, took a business card out of his wallet, handed it to me, and said, I have some friends that own a record company. He said, I'm going to call them and tell them I've heard you sing and I think you're good. He said, that's your break, kid.
What was this man's name?
Jim Lee.
That was Jim Lee. So you went to see him?
I waited 3 weeks.
Why did you wait?
I had to be the very best I could be. I played nonstop. You only get one chance to make a good impression.
Sure.
I had to be the very, very best. I played, I sang, I played, I sang. I finally called and he goes, where have you been? I said, I had to be really, really the best I could ever be. And he said, are you? And I said, you bet I am. He said, well, come in tomorrow. Okay. I'm going to Hollywood. I have a record audition. I'm going to Hollywood. Ah!
Where was this location you were going to?
In Hollywood.
Where in Hollywood? Hollywood's a big place. What?
Yeah, it's Barham Boulevard. It was near Lake Hollywood,
Okay.
near the Hollywood Bowl, very near the Hollywood Bowl, maybe a mile away. So my best friend, Kara, I go over to her house that night. We're like celebrating, I'm 14, she's, 13.
This is the night before.
The night before.
Okay.
So we're over at her house. She has a swimming pool.
Oh.
We always competed. She was going to dive in one end, I was going to dive in the other. We had beach towels wrapped around us. We were going to see who could swim underwater and get to the other end first because we always competed. I start to dive in the pool. I'm fortunately in the shallow end. The towel starts to fall off, and like an idiot, I grabbed for it. If you don't have your hands in front of you, you go straight to the bottom. I went straight to the bottom.
Hit your head?
Knocked myself out cold.
Wow.
Out cold. She's swimming underwater to the other end. She gets out. Where's Kath? I'm underwater.
Whoa.
She pulls me out. I had a horrible concussion. So bad. Everything was just, I'm heartbroken. Absolutely heartbroken. My mom calls the next morning and said, this has happened. He said, don't worry about it. Tell her when she feels better to come in. It took me 3 weeks to feel better again. So now this is 6 weeks.
But were you able to practice during that time?
Yeah, I was pretty bad
Yeah.
for quite a while. But I finally got my voice back to where I felt like I can go in and do a good job. So I go in, I sit down, I play Eddie My Darling. And he said, do you read music? And I said, yes, I do. And he pulls out sheet music and he said, try this. And I said, okay. So I played it. He liked it. He said, I want you to come tonight and cut a test record. So I did. And he said, I want you to come back tomorrow night and we're going to cut a record. So the song was 1,000 Stars. A disc jockey from Bakersfield had sent it to Indigo Records for The Innocents as a follow-up song to Honest I Do. But the record company said, a guys group, the Revelers, had done it before, and a girl should do it.
Now, who are the Innocents?
There were 3 wonderful guys that sang beautiful, beautiful, beautiful harmony. Jim West, Darren Stanky, and Al Camilleri. They've had Honest I Do as a hit. They sing for Indigo Records. This is who I'm auditioning for, is Indigo Records.
Did you know them before this?
I knew Honest I Do, of course.
You knew the song.
I loved it, but I never
Didn't
met
know
them.
them.
I'd never met anyone.
They had even been on American Bandstand before this, too.
Right. So I go that night to cut a record. I went the night before, we did the test. I come back the next night. It's on the end of the Innocents album session. So they're done. They're just standing around, I start singing. Jim Lee says, wait, because the guys had started singing harmony in the background, just because when you're a singer, you just do that. You just start singing. And he said, that sounds fantastic. Put a mic on them. Put a screen around them, put a mic on them, and take 52 later, 1,000 Stars. 3 weeks later, it was out. It took 3 weeks to master it, press it.
Distribute.
3 weeks later, it was out. 3 weeks later, it was #1. I'm driving down the road on a Friday night, and I'm waiting to hear what's the #1 song, but I'm also waiting to hear where my song had gone because it had hit the charts. Yes, sir.
Back me up a little bit. Tell me about the first time you heard Kathy Young on the radio.
Oh.
The first time, okay? Where were you?
Driving down the road.
All right, you're driving in the car. Now, are you driving or you're in a car somebody else driving?
No, I'm driving.
You're driving.
I'm only 15, but I'm with my mom, and I didn't have a driver's permit, but I drove all the time.
Okay.
All the time.
And the radio's on. What do you listen to, KRLA?
Probably KRLA or KFWB, and I don't know that, no, it wasn't. Right now I cannot tell you the the call letters for that radio station. It was not KRLA or KFWB.
It wasn't a big station then?
No, it
Not
was
the
a
biggest.
smaller station.
Okay.
And the DJ loved it.
But were you expecting to hear it? Or you just...
Oh yeah, I was waiting. I was waiting. I was like, who's going to play it? Who's going to play it? So I was always flipping back and forth. Okay, back this one, this one. Well, this disc jockey on a black station. It was all black. They didn't play any white music at all. I hear it on that station. I'm like, oh my gosh, he loved it. He played the heck out of it. He just played it like 5 times in 1 hour. He loved it. So then KRLA and KFWB started playing it, and they made it a hit. They made it a hit. They played it so much, which doesn't happen today. If DJs really love a song, they don't really get the option to do that. So I went into this radio station to tell him thank you for breaking my record and making it a hit. And he said, well, you're not Kathy Young. And I said, well, yes, I am. And he goes, no, you're not. And I said, yes, I am. He goes, well, you're not black. And I said,
thinking the same thing.
I know. And he said, but this is a black station. I said, not anymore.
Did they continue playing it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was no longer a black station. I broke segregation in LA.
Wow.
I love that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is. All right, so you hear yourself on the radio, and then you hear yourself climbing up the chart.
3 weeks, 21, 7. I'm waiting that night.
At number 7.
I'm waiting to hear where it's going. Did it drop off? Did it go up? And they played everything. Number 1's next, and I told Mom, I said, oh my gosh, I dropped off.
I'm done, I'm through.
I had a good run. Okay.
Okay.
And then he says, and the number 1 song is, and he plays 1,000 Stars. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm number 1 on my 15th birthday.
October 21.
That was my birthday, and it turned number 1 in Los Angeles. I'm like, thank you, thank you.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it.
It's absolutely amazing. I mean, it was so quick, and you're so young.
But like I say, I knew it was going to happen. I knew it, and I knew, then I started doing shows, and I loved it. I loved and I still do. I mean, we're here. We've got a show tonight. I love having the microphone in my hand, that band behind me and music, and seeing those people out in the audience. It just, there's such a connection. And nowadays, to do an oldies show, it's even better. Everybody's there having a great time.
Yeah, it's the greatest music recorded on vinyl, and why not? Then you're still doing it. All right, so after you went to number 1, then what? Did you travel? Did you get to, how about American Bandstand? Were you ever on American Bandstand?
I was on American Bandstand, I think, 5 times.
5 times? Tell me about the first time.
That one's kind of a blur, I have to admit. It's a bit of a blur for me. I remember flying there, but I think that part I think I met Fabian the first time on American Bandstand. I think he was on there with me. The one that stands out in my mind is when I went back to American Bandstand again to promote Happy Birthday Blues, my second song. And I had sung Happy Birthday Blues, and I was standing there waiting for the music to start for 1,000 Stars. And there's no music. I'm like, oh, what's going on?
Now, when you say you're waiting for the music to start, you're not waiting for a band to play.
No, you lip synced.
Right.
Yeah, you did. And everybody did a really good job. We were pretty good at it.
we really couldn't tell that when we were watching on our black and white television sets.
And you watched it just like I used to run home from school to watch it too.
Yeah.
And then I'm on it.
Yeah.
How's that in such a short period of time? So I'm waiting, and I look over, and again, it's a live show. I look over, and here comes Dick walking over to me, and I think, uh-oh, what did I do? I'm just a kid. I must have done something wrong. He walked over, and he handed me a gold record. I couldn't believe it. I started crying. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to be a singer. I just knew it. I knew I would have a hit record. But to get a gold record, that never entered that realm of what I dreamed or what I knew was going to happen. I mean, I started sobbing, just absolutely sobbing. I was like, I was just so happy. And Dick's going, Kathy, this is a live show. Come on. And I'm like,
snap out of it, kid.
I just kept crying and crying. He's like, go to commercial. So during the commercial, he goes, Kathy, this is a live show. Come on, get it together. I'm like, okay. But
Now, did you come back and sing 1,000 Stars?
Right then, yeah, I sang it, and I did have tears running down my face. I couldn't stop. I was just so, I feel so very blessed.
But when you traveled and when you performed, it was just you. It wasn't Innocence.
Right?
They didn't travel with you.
We just came together to record. They did their shows, I did my shows. Sometimes we did shows together, but it wasn't. We weren't,
It wasn't like John, Paul, George, and Ringo. Okay,
No,
it wasn't all of you as a
no.
group. It was just you.
Yeah, just me. The very first show that I did live, the Innocents were supposed to be on it. It was in Southern California, and so I get there, and the Innocents don't show up, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll just do it by myself. Well, the Image of a Girl, Image of
Safaris.
The Safaris. They were on the show, and Marv comes over and he goes, "Where's your Innocence? That's going to sing backup for you." I said, "I don't know, but that's okay." He goes, "Well, we know the song. We could sing backup for you." And I'm like, "Great. Okay." So my very first live show, the Safaris sang backup for me.
Your live shows. Did you travel with Alan Freed?
I think I did one show for him.
Did you get to meet him? You get to meet Alan Freed?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
How was that? Because Alan Freed, of course, was a hometown hero of Cleveland, Ohio, and that's where he started. And then he went to New York. And for you getting to meet Alan Freed, and he was the king of rock and roll at that time, and he proclaimed himself to be king. In fact, he crowned himself king at the Moondog Coronation Ball. That's what the purpose of the ball was, to crown him king. And you got to be on his shows and sing. Who were on the shows with you, those early shows you traveled with?
Oh, Bo Diddley, Ray Charles, Brenda Lee, Connie Francis, Neil Sedaka, the Shirelles, the Blue Notes, Little Anthony and the Imperials. Who else? I know I'm missing somebody, but there was so many. Roy Orbison.
Roy Orbison. Did you ever travel with Roy Orbison? Did you ever perform with Roy?
I did. I got to do a tour down in Texas with him. What a wonderful man. Just kind. He just had a kindness and a niceness about him. He was such a gentleman. And we were down in Texas doing, one-nighters everywhere. And there was a fair going on. And
Carnival?
Yeah, and we just all said, "Hey, let's stop." We weren't there to perform. We just all said, "Hey, stop. We want to go walk around." So I got to ride a Ferris wheel with Roy Orbison.
Are you serious?
That is like, oh my gosh, I was the little kid. I was everybody's little sister, and everybody treated me so nicely, like a little sister. It was wonderful. I just, everybody was my big brother or my big sister.
Did you happen, as you're walking through rock and roll history, of course, you don't think about this.
No.
But did you ever take any photographs of this?
No, that's what's really, really, really terrible. I kick myself. I didn't because I thought I would be there with those people all the time.
For the rest of your life. You're never going to grow up.
Right.
You're always going to be a teenager singing.
Absolutely. But, and now I have to remind myself because I'm not here to take pictures with everybody. I'm just here to, do what we all love to do. So for me, it's not about taking pictures. And I have to remind myself, take a picture with them, for me.
From their perspective, okay, we have a different perspective. You're living it, we're watching it.
Right, yeah.
So it's a totally different point of view.
Brenda Lee and I met and went to high school together when she was in Hollywood. We had a private school that we went to. If I was on the road for a week, then I would have to go back to school all day. One day of school was from 8 a.m. till noon, and if you went then from noon to 4, that was considered 2 days in one day. So if I was on the road for a week and I missed school, even though I had a tutor on the road, I still had to go back and go from 8 a.m. till 4 p.m., which was straight school. There was nothing in between there at all. And so Brenda and I went to school together, and she would come and stay at my house sometime, and we'd just try to be like normal teenage girls and have a slumber party and do our nails. But we'd also sit around and sing and, hang out. And so one day we said, "Hey, let's go to Disneyland. Just the two of us. Let's go to Disneyland. Let's just have a
Now, were
great
you
time."
playing hooky? Is that what this is? You're cutting school?
Maybe.
Oh,
I don't remember.
okay. All right.
So we're standing in line for Utopia. And we had decided we're going to be ourselves. We're just going to go and have a great time. We're going to be ourselves. And so we're standing there, and these two boys are standing behind us, and they're flirting with us, and we're flirting with them. And
Did they know who you were? Oh, sorry.
so the one boy goes, "Hi, what's your name?" And we had decided to be ourselves. And I said, "Well, this is Brenda Lee, and I'm Kathy Young." And he said, Yeah, right. And I'm Frankie Avalon and this is Fabian. And they turned around and walked away. And we looked at each other and said, well, so much for being ourselves. Now let's make up some names.
That's funny.
And have
That's
fun.
cute. Wow, I wonder if I'd have met you back then. Yeah, Brenda Lee, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, right. That's cute.
We had a lot of fun together back then. Yeah. Yeah.
You were at a place called Pandora's Box. What's that?
It is a club in Hollywood that's in a little triangle. It's not there anymore, but it used to be the place that everybody wanted to play.
Is that off of Sunset Boulevard?
Right there, right next to Schwab's. It was just the place. You had to become somebody to play there, but I luckily had become, had a little bit of a name, and I had never been able to play the same place 2 nights in a row. Everything had been one night, one night. Never get comfortable with a band, never learn an audience. And in some ways, I never paid my dues. I never had to work my way up, which luckily, I feel very blessed that I didn't, but in a lot of ways, I didn't learn a lot of things also. I didn't learn how to, handle a crowd, like maybe a guy that's being a little bit obnoxious and loud and, not letting you sing, not being obnoxious, but just, I never learned to do that. So Pandora's Box offered me a 3-night gig there at Pandora's Box over Christmas holiday. And my manager said no, because it wasn't for very much money. They didn't pay you very much. And I said, I don't care. I just want that opportunity to work a crowd and learn, to work with a band. So I argued with him and I just said, I'm doing it. And I called Pandora's Box. I said, I'll take it, I'm on. So I go there in the afternoon to rehearse with the band, and I walk around the corner and this band is up on the bandstand and there's this guy standing there, and I just looked at him and just went, oh my gosh. It was absolutely love at first sight. They were the Walker Brothers.
Sun ain't gonna shine anymore.
Make it easy on yourself.
Oh, yeah.
My ship is coming in. Yeah. But they weren't them yet. They were just the house band for Pandora's Box. Well, it turned out it was love at first sight for Johnny as well.
Who's Johnny?
Who became my husband, John Moss of the Walker Brothers. So I got to work with them there, and it was fantastic. I just loved it. I learned so much. And so Johnny and I started dating, and in 1965, they had been at Gazzari's in Hollywood, and they had this huge following. They were such an awesome band. They were so great. And they'd had a record in Hollywood, but it hadn't gone very far because they were too well known. They'd been around too long. They weren't a new face. You had to be a new face for people to, I guess, to really pay attention to you for some reason. So they got a backer, and they decided to go to England. And again, this is January of 1965. So the Beatles have been huge. They've hit it. They're, it's happening. It's the English, So they went to England. I think it was within like 4 months, they had Johnny and the Walker Brothers had huge hits. The girls were as crazy about them as they were about the Beatles. It was wild. And so he came back. We got married. 4 days later, we went back to England. We lived there, living the crazy life of, what you see happening to the Beatles. The same thing was happening to the Stones and the Walker Brothers and, everybody. It was this crazy. Those girls in England, they just go nuts. They just go crazy. So, I got to meet the Beatles and.
Where did you meet the Beatles? Where did you meet the Beatles?
They had a show there in London, and Johnny and Scott Ingle of the Walker Brothers took me there. And so Johnny and Scott walked in the dressing room first. We were, backstage, and we were going into the Beatles' dressing room. So Johnny and Scott walked in first, and I kind of hung back. And the guys are talking to the guys, and I'm still standing back. And Johnny said, "Oh, I'd like you to meet my wife." And John says, "Oh my God, I thought she was a fan." And so he was.
Well, you were.
Yeah, I was, absolutely. But he was going to let me just hang out there as long as I behaved myself. So then, met him, and Peter and Gordon, Lady Godiva and all of that. They were really good friends of ours, and we used to, George and Paul and Gordon and Johnny and I, we would all just sit around and play guitars and sing, for hours and hours and hours. And again, I never took a picture. It wasn't something that we were friends. Why would I take a picture? we were just having a great time, just singing. So, I missed out on that, but, I got to meet some wonderful people. And
How about the Rolling Stones?
Yeah. New Mick and, all those guys. Yeah. Lulu was one of my
Lulu?
Was one of my
loved
dearest
her.
friends when I lived in England. Just, what a sweetheart. Loved her.
Eric Burdon and the Animals.
Yeah.
You told me a story once about a hot iron.
Oh, yeah, well, it was, burned my hand and I had to go to the emergency room and, get it fixed, and I was still in a lot of pain. And so we had a club that we would go to that after, I think it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. Up until then, it was open to the public. But after 2, it was a private club for just entertainers. And so they had a bandstand and instruments set up all the time. And so all of us would go and hang out, and just whoever wanted to would get up and play, whoever was there. And so I was there one night, and Eric Burton was there, and Elton John, who wasn't really Elton John yet,
No.
but he was getting there. The two of them stood up there and sang to me for hours that night and said, "Kathy, we're just going to sing to you and sing to you and sing to you so you don't think about how bad your hand hurts." And it was just...
It was wrapped. You told me it was all wrapped up in a mitten you touched a hot iron.
I wasn't a very good cook.
Oh, okay. Then you came back to the United States.
I did.
Okay. You came back. What year did you return?
That was 69.
1969. What happened in 69? Why did you come back?
Well, I divorced. Johnny and I split up, unfortunately. Met another really nice man and married and had a couple of wonderful kids. And I became an orange grower for many, many, many years, and a farmer. Lived way, way out in the country, and just I loved that quiet country life. And unfortunately, divorced again. But it was after we divorced, and my son was going off to college. KFWB in Hollywood was having rock and roll shows at the Greek Theater, and they had tried to find me forever and ever and ever. Here I've married twice. My last name's changed. I live up in the middle of, Central California on an orange grove, and they had tried everything to try and find me. So they contacted my music publisher, and said, you probably know where she is because she probably still gets royalties for writing. And he said, I do, but I won't give you her name and number. I'll contact her and see if she wants to contact you. So he wrote me a letter. Well, kind of a long story, but anyway, I bought this house, and I had sold this house, and so my mail was still going to this house, but this man knew that I lived in this house because it was a real small little town. So the letter came to that address, and it sat on his counter for quite a while. So by the time he brought it over to me, I called, and they said, "Oh, we'd love to have you on the show, but we've already put it together. It had been so long."
The window closed.
Yeah, and I said, "Well, if anything happens, if anybody falls off the show, I can be there in a second, and, I'll be there." So I drove to LA the next day. My son had a doctor's appointment down in Los Angeles, and I went to the Greek Theater after his doctor's appointment, and I sat there, and I just looked at that marquee, and I burned my name into that marquee, just like I had seen it so many times. And I just said, I really want this. Every time I was around a band, every time I was near music of any type, it pulled at me. I wanted to be back up on that stage again. So we went home that night. They called me and said, "Could you do this show?" And I'm like, "Yes!"
So this is your first time back on stage in a long time.
65 was the last time, and this was 1993.
Wow, 28 years.
Yeah. I just, the thing that got me the most was rehearsing with the band. I was nervous about that. I was not nervous about walking out on that stage.
But had you been singing over those last 20 years? You never stopped singing.
Sang to my kids all the time. My daughter would always laugh at me because they'd never seen me on stage. They'd heard the song on the radio and kept saying, "Is that you, Mom? Really? That's you? You used to do that?" And I'm like, "Yes, and I can do it again." So then when I get the show, my daughter's saying to me, "Are you really going to do that? You're going to walk out on the stage in front of 7,000 people?" And I sure am, and I can't wait. So the thing was that I was nervous about the band because I haven't worked with a band in so long, and they're going to talk lingo that I don't remember. That made me nervous. But again, not walking out on that stage, it was incredible, and that that started the whole thing going again, 93 till, 2015.
So right up now to today. And we're in the beautiful Capitol Theater here in downtown Wheeling, West Virginia. And as part of that, in a few minutes, in Wheeling, you're going to be taking the stage in a few minutes.
I can't wait.
I can't either. Can we come and see you? Are you going to sing 1,000 Stars?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Well, you go get dressed, and we're going to come into the audience, and we're going to join you, and I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, I am too.
It was good seeing you again, Kathy.
You too, Tom.
Okay?
Thank
I'll see you up on
so
stage in a
much.
few minutes, okay, buddy?
All right.
Okay.
See you all there.
Bye-bye.
I planned just how this day would be for such a long, long time. You'd wish me happy birthday while I held your hand in mine. I'd blow out all the candles while I wish that you and I would be together evermore until the day we die. As I sit here in the gloom of my cold and lonely room, all my heart is filled with fear, and my eyes are filled with tears. Got the happy birthday blues. Don't take your life away from me. Don't you make my heart misery. If you go, then I'll be blue, 'cause breaking up is hard to do. Remember when you held me tight and you kissed me all through the night? Come on, baby, let's start anew, 'cause breaking up is hard to do. Magic is the night, so baby, hold me tight. Oh, can't you see that you were meant for me? Won't you show me the way to your heart? Say you'll be my baby, let me be your thrill. We could be so happy, I know we will. I'll never be unfaithful, I'll never tell you lies. Please believe me, darling, cross my heart and hope to lie. Is this a lasting treasure, or just a moment's pleasure? Can I believe the magic of your sighs? Will you still love me tomorrow? Tonight with words unspoken, you said that I'm the only one. Why will my heart be broken when the night meets no more? Meets a thousand stars in the sky, like the stars in your eyes. They say to me that there'll never be no other love like you for me. us all.